Good morning, all of you. My name is Suneetha, Department of Political Science, anrcollege, Gudivada. Today's topic: fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are incorporated from Article 12 to 35 in the third chapter, part of the Indian Constitution. Rights are the basic facilities which we need for our growth. These are the claim of individual recognized by the society and enforcement by the state. The existence of democracy cannot be imagined without fundamental rights. In Indian, basic rights are the pillars of democracy. Why do we call these rights as fundamental? These rights are incorporated in the third chapter, part of the Constitution of India. They offered a basis of the development on individual, the people and officials of India are thought to enjoy the rights. Nature of rights. Fundamental rights are equal to all. Rights to injusticeable. Fundamental rights are not absolute. They limit the authority of the central and state government. Fundamental rights distinguish between citizens and foreign nationals. They can be suspended during emergency. Parliament can amend fundamental rights. Right to equality. Fundamental rights 12 to 35 articles. Right to equality, right to freedom, right to against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, culture and education right to constitutional remedies. These are fundamental types of fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. Article 12 definition. In this part, unless the context otherwise requires, the state includes the government and parliament of India and the government and the legislature of each of the state and all local or other authorities within the territory of India or under the control of government of India. Article 13. Law inconsistent with or derogation of fundamental rights. All laws in force in the territory of India immediately before the commencement of this constitution, in so far as they are inconsistent with the provisions of this part, shall to the extent of such in society be avoided. Right to equality, Article 14 to 18. Article 14. Equality before law provides that the state shall not deny to any person equality before law of the equal protection of law within the territory of India. Article 15. Prohibition of discrimination and grounds of religion, race, caste, sex or place of birth. Article 16. Equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Article 17. Abolition of untouchability. Article 18. Abolition of titles. Right to freedom. Article 19 to 22. Right to freedom 19 to 22. Article 19. Freedom of speech and expressions. Freedom of press. Article 361 has been inserted, according to which the press been given the power to publish an account of the proceeding of the Indian Parliament and the state legislature. Right to information is linked to the freedom of speech and expression granted in Article 19 in the Constitution. Freedom to assemble peacefully without arms. Freedom from association and unions. Freedom to move freely without the territory of India. Freedom to residents reside and settle in any part of the territory of India. Freedom to practice any professions or to carry on any corruption, trade or business. Protection in respect of conviction of the offence, Article 20. Next, protection of life and personal liberty, Article 21. Right to education, Article 21, subclass A. Protection against arrest and detention against certain cases, Article 22. Once again I repeat, right to freedom. 19 article says freedom of speech and expressions. From freedom of press, Article 361 has been insert, according to which the press has been given the power publish an account of the proceeding of the Indian Parliament and state legislature. Right to information is linked to the freedom of speech expressions granted in Article 19 in the Constitution. Freedom to assemble peacefully without arms. Freedom to arms association in unions. Freedom to move freely without the territory of India. Freedom to rise and settle in any part of the territory of India. Freedom to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade or business. Protection in respect of conviction of an offence, Article 20. Article 21. Protection of life and personal liberty, Article 21, subclass A. Right to education. Next, Article 22, protection against arrest and detention against certain cases. Right to against exploitation. Right to against exploitation, Article 22, 23, 24. 23 article says prohibition of traffic in human beings and forced labor. Prohibition to compulsory services. Under this article, the state cannot force people to the compulsory services for public purpose. Article 24. Prohibition of child labor. Children below the age of 14 years will not be allowed to work in the factories, mines or in the other dangerous place, so that their health is not adversely affected. Next, right to religion freedom, Article 25th to 28th. Right to freedom of religion, Article 25th to 28th. Article 25th. Freedom to profess and propagate any religion. Article 26. Freedom to manage religious affairs. Article 27. Freedom not to pay taxes for the promotion of any particular religion. Article 28. No religious instructions in government educational institutions, in private educational institutions, religious education not against the will. Cultural and educational right, Article 29 to 30. Cultural and educational right, Article 29 to 30. Article 29. Protection against interest of minorities. Freedom to get admissions in the educational institutions. Article 30. Right to minorities to establish educational institutions. To discrimination while giving grants. Once again I repeat, cultural and educational right, Article 29 to 30. Article 29 says protection against interest of minorities, freedom to get admissions in the educational institutions. Article 30, right to minorities to establish educational institutions, no discrimination while giving grants. Right to constitutional remedies, Article 32. Right to constitutional remedies, Article 32 says provides that citizens can approach the Supreme Court of the India by the due process of law for the implementation of the fundamental rights included in the Chapter 3 of the Constitution. Once again I repeat, Article 31 subclause 1 says, provide that a citizen can approach the Supreme Court of the Indian by due process of law for the implementation of the fundamental rights included in Chapter 3 of the Constitution. Article 32 subclause 2. The Supreme Court of the India has the right to issue rights in the nature of the habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, quo warranto. These are rights called writs. Once again I repeat, 32 subclause 2. The Supreme Court of the India has the right to issue writs in the nature of the habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, quo warranto, etc. Article 32 subclause 3. The Indian Parliament can empower any court to issue notice with its jurisdictions without infringing influencing the power of the Supreme Court of India. Article 32 subclause 4. The state cannot suspend the right to constitutional remedies except in case provided in the Indian Constitution. Once again I repeat, Indian right to constitutional remedies. Article 32. Provide the citizen can approach the Supreme Court of India by the process of law for the implementation of the fundamental rights included in the Chapter 3 of the Constitution. Article 32 subclause 2. The Supreme Court of India has the right to issue writs in the nature of the habeas corpus, mandamus, certiorari, prohibition, quo warranto, etc. Article 32 subclause 3. The Indian Parliament can empower any court issue notice with its jurisdiction without infringing or influencing to power of the Supreme Court in India. Article 32 subclause 4. The state cannot suspend the right to constitutional remedies except in cases provided in the Indian Constitution. Cultural evolution of fundamental rights. Public opinion. This picture says public opinion. Importance of human rights. Importance of human rights. Foundation of democracy. Check on the arbitrariness of the government. Create proper conditions for the development of man. Foundation of rules of law. Establishment of secular state. Protection of the interest of the minorities. Reconciliation between individual interest and social interests. Once again I will repeat. Fundamental rights, types of fundamental rights. Types of fundamental rights. Right to equality, right to freedom, right to against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural education rights, right to constitutional remedies. Fundamental rights. Article 22 definitions. In the part unless the contest otherwise requires the state, includes the government and Parliament of India and the government, the legislature of each of the state and all local or other authorities with the territory of India are under the control of the government of India. Article 13. Law consistent with or in a derogation of the fundamental rights. All laws in the force in the territory of India immediately before the commencement of this Constitution, in so far as they are consistent with the provision of the part, shall to the extent of such encouragingly be allowed. Right to freedom. Right to freedom. Importance of human rights. I will explain once again. Importance of human rights. Foundation of democracy. Check on the arbitrariness of the government. Create proper condition for the development of men. Foundation of rule of law. Establishment of secular state. Protection of the interest of the minorities. Reconciliation between individual interest and social interest. This is Suneetha, Department of Political Science, NR College, Gudivada. Thank you.